Hey everybody, I got a big day ahead of me. I'm going to fire off this gang stalking part 1 video. Unfortunately, I couldn't cram it all in one video. There's so much to say on the topic. So I'm going to reduce it. I'm going to take a reductionist approach and put it out there in bite-sized chunks. So this video is going to compare gang stalking to mobbing, kind of defining both. They're very similar, but they're not the same. All right? Here we go. What is gang stalking? So gang stalking is either a mobbing at work that leaks out into one's personal life after you're done with the workplace, or sometimes during your time at the workplace. You don't have to be done with it, but it can be either or. It's a gang stalking is like a community mobbing. It is its own entity, all right, that may have nothing to do with the workplace at all. But it is typically born from an event, an unspoken conflict, if you will, all right? Typically, it is reactive in nature. That means you upset somebody, mostly a top dog, somebody. And that top dog could be a person of authority, a politico, maybe a municipal politician, police officer or officers. You could have been a whistleblower. You might have taken a video of something that was nefarious and the person caught you. And it could be a leader in the community as well. So it could be a top-down or lateral thing. I won't say bottom-up, all right, because it doesn't work that way in a community mobbing, but it could work that way in a workplace mobbing. Now, so that is the reactive. It could also be proactive. And I'll tell you, remember, I don't know if I've ever said this. I've lived in various cities across the country. And as impersonal as some of the bigger cities are, these things tend to happen less often in bigger places. That's from my experience. I'm not saying it can't happen in a big city, but this is just from my experience. Happens in a lot of smaller towns where you're the outsider. And you come into this small town and right away there's something different about you. You didn't go to pre-K with these people. You know, your kids didn't grow up together. You have no kids. You're different than they are somehow. All right? Typically, these towns look really pretty on the outside, but they're not so great on the inside, folks, just from my experience. But anyhow, we'll move on from there. So in either case, in any case, this gang stalking or mobbing, just like mobbing, could be lateral, neighbors, community members, or so-called top-down from someone in a position of authority, cop, politicos, your kid's school principal, etc. Similarities. Mobbing and gang stalking are designed to attack you at a needs-based, primal level, which, given this, increase your fight, flight, or fear response. This is where that whole PTSD or CPTSD thing often comes into play. See, the human is a social animal, and we typically behave as either a herd animal or a pack animal. This depends on the norms of the group. See, there's certain animals that will not behave as a pack animal, like say take sheep, for instance. Sheep don't typically behave as a pack animal. I've never seen that anyhow, and I doubt it would happen. And a wolf and wolves will not behave as a herd animal. There's a hierarchy. Pack animals typically have a very hierarchical nature, all right? Whereby a herd animal is just this grazing group, you know, and there you go. So humans can flip back and forth. All right. So herd animal or pack animal depends on the norms of the group, whether benevolent, based on the fundamental needs of the group members, the majority, it's more of a democratic process, or malevolent, based on the will, wants, desires of an imposed leader or system. Keep that in mind. Here we go. So how does one attack another on such a primal level without outright killing or assaulting them, or overtly stalking or harassing them? See, these acts are illegal, whereby a person who's doing the killing, assaulting, overtly stalking or harassing could absolutely be held to account. See, in mobbings and in gang stalkings, the same primal assault is at play. It's a violent act, all right? But you can't catch them at doing it. It's coming from the side. So what does a person do to another person to attack their core needs? which are in part really easy to identify. All right? So, and this is why I keep saying mobbers and gang stalkers are not evil geniuses, they're just evil. All right? So what needs-based primal, what needs-based primal stuff are we talking about? So without getting too much into the psychological theories for now, but I'm going to touch on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I'm going to put a link to it. And also Deci and Ryan, they have this self-determination theory, which I'm going to touch on also. But I'll tell you, mobbing, the root of this assault is on your basic human primary needs for survival needs, folks, in this society. Okay, so, and I'm going to tell you, given the social pain associated, it's real pain, by the way, of being ostracized or humiliated, you may just miss out on what is really the much deeper anxiety-inducing root of this matter. They attack your need for survival. And in this society, our need for survival is based on money. And also, they attack another needs that's somewhat higher on the scale. That means once the primary need is satisfied, you move on to the next. So the other somewhat higher need that comes into effect when the primary need is satisfied is safety and security. Now you got to understand, safety and security is immediately compromised when given the potential loss of your primary need. And what is that primary need? Money. Why money? With money, you can provide and maintain yours and your family's need for food, shelter, warmth. So think about it. Imagine somebody comes and attacks that primary need. Now, if they're attacking it and you know, it's like, oh my God, I could lose my job, right? I could lose my job. They're focusing on that, right? They're trying to drive you into the ground. While you're feeling driven into the ground on an emotional level, there's a deeper system happening which you may not even be aware of. They're attacking a very basic need. How do you feel when I just said that? I think it's panic-inducing. It's a panic-inducing situation, you see. It's not simply a matter of, oh, did someone hurt your feelings? Suck it up, buttercup. How many times have you heard that from people? And more importantly, how many times have you said that to yourself? See, it's not a snowflake deal. This is real. This is violence, people. In any case, we'll move on. Gang-stalking. The root of this assault may not be that first essential need for, food, shelter, warmth, and providing for your family. So it might not hit you in the financial area, but it definitely touches on, yes, that idea of safety and security. So your safety and security is under attack. Now remember, as I said in the beginning, we're either a pack animal or a herd animal, depending on our leadership, but we're typically not a solitary animal. All right? We often, but not always, like me, form these family units, okay, with kids and the whole deal. But the truth is that these days, the family units themselves are more nuclear than extended. There's much less community cohesion in the relatively recent past. And in the recent past, I mean the 70s maybe, again, I keep referring to those good little times. It was just a short pocket of time. Extended family was bigger. We didn't put old people into nursing homes and forget about them. I mean, again, some of it's cultural, but whatever. And I'm not saying it's all bad, but just give me a chance. The community cohesion I'm talking about is even in neighborhoods. Neighbors looked out for one another. It wasn't perfect. They gossiped and yented, and it's always been like that. But they looked out for one another and one another's kids. You'd have the neighbor looking out the window, which could have been a colossal pain for you when you were a teenager. But, they would share information, and it wasn't always just gossipy information. All right? And sometimes if your kid did something wrong, they would scold them, and you would applaud them for doing that. Or if the teacher said something to your kid because your kid was being nasty in school, instead of saying, not my child, you know what? You would listen to what the teacher had to say, and as a group, you could figure stuff out. We don't really live that way anymore. But irrespective of how our society has changed, we still have this evolution-based need to belong to a group. It is what it is, right? So, you got to think, well, why are gangs so popular? All right? Why do so many people either engage in nefarious behavior, like say via mobbing or gang stalking, or act as bystanders when nefarious things occur, when a great number of them actually know better, if you will? All right? Think about genocides, the Holocaust, and any in and out group phenomenon. Again, so your higher level order might know that this is wrong, but you engage based on your needs to belong. You don't want to be ostracized from the group, so you join in the fray. So, all right, getting back to mobbing and gang stalking. So social rejection is one thing. All right, so both of them deal with social rejection. Now, for some of us, that's maybe less important than for others. All right, it depends on your character. So it doesn't mean one is strong and one is weak. It's, I'm just telling you, fundamentally, we're made this way. We're social animal. So social rejection brings about its own pain. Like, so if you're being ignored or ostracized, there's a pain, a physiological pain, measurable, okay? And I'm going to put some psych studies for you to check it out. There's a pain to it. Another thing that happens, you got to understand, being followed, whether online or in person, threatened, everything from direct and overt. Ransom notes, they're never going to be signed by the person themselves, okay? But think about getting ransom notes. Evil texts and emails, all right? Those are the overt kind of things that can happen. You can be followed overtly or directly, all right? And by followed, it could be followed online as well. It could be followed in person by cops. It happens. We'll get to the stories, okay? And I want to hear your stories as well, but I will share my stories. But here we go. For now, I'm going to deal with this. Covert events as well happen. Like, say, being invited to community gatherings, where everybody gets a little invitation in the mailbox, only to go there, be looked over, stared at. Otherwise humiliated, nobody's going to talk to you. And you might go up and talk to them, and they'll do that. Yeah, all right. Thing, okay? So it's kind of like humiliating. Sometimes you'll have things that have been thrown at your house, including excrement, all right? You're also dealing with safety issues. This is like even worse. Brake lines cut on cars, carports that are rigged to fail and can really hurt you or kill you. This happens. Now, are we a bunch of snowflakes and is gang stalking not real? No, it's real and it happens. And truth is, any freaking self-respecting pro and professional out there, I hope somebody takes the ball and runs with it at some point, all right? Because this stuff does happen. So, and sometimes you even have to deal with a barrage of bureaucratic BS. Tickets, the threat of getting tickets, warnings for simple things like somebody heard your dog bark. It's like, well, dogs bark. Yes, well, the person, sent in the complaint. Or your fence. Your fence is an inch higher than the regulated fences in the area or whatever the city ordinances are. Yeah, but I bought my property. This fence has been here since 1974, and then suddenly it becomes a problem. This stuff happens, and I can assure you that this stuff happens. We'll get into the details and the nitty-gritty later. So you might get this stuff from authorities. Now, this type of stuff is even going to would likely throw the Dalai Lama off his game. All right? So, yes, and again, just for 2 minutes. In terms of my own story, the gang stalking began before I left the job. So-called friends who had nothing to do with the job directly, didn't work there, they weren't colleagues, began to play the role of flying monkeys in my life. Now, as someone aptly put it, I think it was Cosmic Rays, I believe, and I thank you for this. News travels pretty fast, especially in a small town. And some people say the benefits of going through this is you get to see who's who. Well, sometimes you'd rather not see who's who, folks. But whatever, I guess you could take that as a benefit. I don't. I just look at it like, okay, well, you know what? This is what it is. There are less people like us. There are of them. But together, maybe we can make some noise and do something here. Anyhow, so how does this result? How does it happen? It happens from the smear campaign. Now, either some flying monkeys know who your friends are, or, for me, one of them was a hairdresser, okay? And one of them was a friend of one of my colleagues. So, again, they just spread gossip, lies. They might even say, oh, well, she said some horrible things about you. And that would make you wonder, too, because you'd be like, I don't gossip. So does this person think that I just didn't gossip with them and I'm gossiping with other people? Do you know what I'm saying? So, anyhow, but people aren't using their heads and they're not thinking. It is what it is. But here we go. So for the interest of brevity and due to the fact that this is superfluous info for now, trust me on this one, all right? And I will get back to the story in detail at some point soon. Okay, so beyond Maslow's needs and hierarchy of needs, beyond group needs, all right, and the needs to belong to a group, we also have individual needs, all right? Individual needs, like we have this strong need for self-determination and the feeling of self-determination, like we are in control of our lives, which is really an important thing to maintain and have in this society, because truth is, when you look, we have control of very little. We don't have control of where our tax dollars are spent, over the environment, over the wars that are going on, over interest rates at the bank, etc. But we do have choices within the great sphere. All right? Now, mobbing and gang stalking is designed to wear you down to the point where you feel absolutely helpless. So, autonomy, competence, and relatedness. These are the three elements to feeling like a self-determined human being. So think about this. Apply self-determination theory, autonomy, competence, and relatedness to your work life and to your home life. Gang stalkers and mobbers are attacking you on each and every one of these levels. If it's a top-down mobbing, say from a person of authority, it's based on their projection. The root of their attack, all right, is going to be on your competence. Their aim, they use the other tools to wear you down, okay, when it comes to autonomy and relatedness, but they're attacking you based on competence. Why? Because they project what's most important to them, their feelings of competence. So they'll attack you on competence. So their aim, like I said in that other video, what bosses do, 7 things bosses do during a mobbing, all right, to kind of wear you down, is attacking you on your ability to do your job. So that'll ensure that you get fired ultimately, all right? So, and when it comes to a lateral, a top-down gang stalking, right? And like I said, if you've been a whistleblower when it comes to a politician in your area, police force in your area, etc., all right? Or if you've, again, peed off the wrong person in authority, well, they're going to get you based on, and you can't say it's harassment. The whole idea of overly ticketing you, all right? Not allowing your permits to pass, even though they are 100% perfect, okay? Or stretching out the process. This has happened to me, so that's what I'm talking about it. So they will do a variety of things to wear you down, to wear down your resolve, so that one day you lose it. One day you tell the cop where to go, or one day you go to the city and you entirely take your plans and designs, throw them on someone's desk, and lose it. So that way they can point the finger and say, see, this person is absolutely, they lost it. Make you look nuts. And again, they're attacking competence. Now, when it comes to bottom-up mobbing or lateral mobbing at the workplace or lateral mobbing gang stalking in a community, right? They're going to nail you on relatedness. Okay? So relatedness is their thing, yeah? You want to belong to the group? Well, we're going to make sure we give you a hard time. We're going to humiliate you. We want to see you on your knees. How bad do you want to belong? Put that head down. You understand? It's pretty ugly. Now, all of this, what does it do? It starts to wear you down, okay? And it starts to affect your own autonomy. You start feeling anxious. Fight, flight, or freeze mode is on all the time, and you start feeling depressed, right? Okay, I hate leaving you hanging, all right, at this point, because it's not going to be a depressing video. Yes, it's honest. It's not pretty. It's honest. But there are certain ways that you can mitigate the effects of all of this stuff, all right? And to me, the primary one for myself was understanding who these people were and understanding that they just, I'm sorry, and again, it's going to come across as arrogant, all right? They're just entirely a part of this matrix. They're just a bunch of people projecting. They have unhealthy egos, all right? They're miserable. Sorry, you don't have to be miserable. But if you know that the people who are doing this horrible stuff to you, okay, are so little, they all need to bunch up in order to have an effect. you know what? You just keep walking tall. Yeah, I know humans aren't supposed to be alone, but you know who else is alone? The capo. All right? The head of an organization is always alone. So, in a way, when you're alone, you get to taste the thrill of a type of freedom that most people will never have. All right? I will be back. Unfortunately, I'm going to go away for about a week and a half or so. But I'll be back in that amount of time. I'll try to touch base in the interim. I should have Wi-Fi, no problem. And that's that. So anyhow, I hope it wasn't too much all over the place. And I hope you enjoyed this video. It's kind of an intro to gang stalking. All right? I wish you a great day. Foxy D, signing off. Namaste.